Hello. Welcome everybody to episode 33 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. This is a podcast about well, what would you say it's about? I'm a dad. My son is Jack Palisak, and he has been through 33 episodes of him going to sleep. He's asleep right now. And I think that he's going to be asleep. He's asleep every time on the podcast, which is that's a big victory for me as a dad because I'm easily talked into things, Like there's a lot of things that I thought would just be me or it would be like he's asleep, but he just talks his way. Like today, I'm sure you're ready to hear more stories about him. He was not feeling well last week. That was the theme of last week is how I don't think it was all me, Like whenever I wasn't feeling well as like kind of a grown up, I always felt like I did something wrong, Like if I went to bed earlier or like it always felt like once I got sick that I was kind of looking for it in a way, like if I hadn't worked too hard or not to be like I work so hard, but like I always felt like it was like this like guilt of like, oh, I got sick, which you shouldn't do. If you're sick, just let it go. Just let it go. It can be a gift. We talked about that before. It could be a gift, and it's definitely not the end of the world. Especially if you're a parent, because if you're a parent and you get sick, you don't even get to be sick. So there's that. So it's not like you're even going to get to take a break. My son last week was pretty busy, and then on Tuesday he really likes chess. Jack really, well, I don't know if he likes. His mom thinks he really likes chess, which I think he does. He does. I'm not saying he doesn't, but like he likes a lot. He likes pretty much everything if it's right before bed and he can tell that he's not going to bed yet. Like today we came home he thought the World Series was today. That's the thing. You never know what kids are thinking. Like we live in Los Angeles and he found out that the Dodgers were going to the World Series because his mom was listening to NPR, which is a weird way to find out that information. I knew about it, but I was out of town. And I was going to talk to him about it. We both like baseball. He likes going in person. That's what he says he prefers. He doesn't really watch it on TV. I don't know if kids that age really watch sports on TV. I've heard they do. I've heard they watch sports on TV. My son, I mean, he'll go to games and he has fun now. But I also feel like it's more, I think it's really just a trick to get snacks, which that's an expensive trick, like this summer when he wanted to go to a Dodger game. I like going to games, so I'm not going to be like questioning it, but I kind of want to be like, we can just go to 7-Eleven and spend $2 on a slushie if that's really what you want as an icy, because that's really, but I think he likes, but I don't know, but at home I don't turn it on because when he was a baby, he didn't watch it at all. And so then the TV's just on, and I can just watch it later and not be distracted. And I think that's my main goal. When my brother lived in town, I would invite him over to watch sports sometimes because if someone else is coming over into the environment, then that means that they're a guest, and then we get to watch it, and then Jack can kind of play. But when it's me and him, it's not me versus, it's never a me, it's never, that's what the experts say. They don't say that. But like, it's never a versus your child, but like when it's one-on-one, I just feel like we'll just watch what you want to watch because we're going to do that anyway. Eventually, let's just get that out so we can go to bed. So anyway, today he thought he was going to the World Series. That's what he said. He's like, I want to go to the World Series. I picked him up from school. He's like, can we go to the World Series? And like, I'm a very optimistic parent, and obviously that's a big financial leap to go to the World Series. So, but I'm not shooting it down. If someone out there in the world is like, I have these World Series tickets and I can't use them. This is not me asking. You should sell them. There's a lot of time. But sometimes things happen. Sometimes you get a ticket to something and that's really cool and you get to go. So I wasn't like, no, we can't go. But I was like, that's I wanted to be like that. That's just like, whatever it is in kid language. I don't know what it would be in his units of things, like like he really likes ices or whatever, which those aren't that expensive, I guess. But anyway, back to the regular scheduled information being taken care of, which I don't even, man, I feel like I was down a thing and now I'm on a oh yeah, he got sick. That's what it was. Now we're figuring it out. We're right on it. We're getting there. We're not getting there. We're there. We've arrived. I'm not even looking at myself. I'm looking at the green light because that's where the people are. That's where the connection. And I want to make this. Did you guys see that buffalo? I set up the stuffed animal buffalo today like he's hiding. That's why he's like, I don't want anybody to know I'm there. I should have made this well, it's not Halloween yet. We don't have to. Halloween is so long these days, which I love. I love. It's just, I don't know. Like today, I flew today. I had a show last night. Sunday night, I worked on a Sunday. Well, it's not really work. And, it's work, but it's like, it's fun work. And it don't work on Mondays. So that's, a trade. But I worked on a Sunday. I was in Utah at Salt Lake City at Wise Guys Comedy Club on Sunday night. And a really nice family came out to the show from Grand Junction, Colorado. I think that's what it was. They drove in, and it was really, they were very, very nice. The mom was very nice, and she started out the conversation right after the show. Very, very nice. Very grateful for that. They were right in there wasn't a lot of people there. I'm a Sunday show. If I'm doing a Sunday show and we're doing the show, that's a good thing, on a football day. In Salt Lake City doesn't have a football team, but still, people care about football and stuff. But those people are, people that wanted to see me, or, want to see a show or hiding out. I don't, escaping danger. No, but she was very nice, and she brought 10 people. 10 people were with her total, or I think that's what it was. And she was like, I didn't know who you were, which is always nice when people meet you after the show. Cause I don't, who should, there's, 60 people on a Sunday, which is good. But she's like, I looked you up and, I came to the show, and she was like, we're going to see Dan Soder. I was like, oh, so they were here for Dan, which is good. I owe Dan. I don't owe Dan, but like, I don't know Dan, but thank you, Dan. You brought people to the Wise Guys for the weekend, and they stayed for my show. I think that's what happened. But it was really nice. It was really, really nice. It's weird as a comedian when you're doing the show and it's not a big crowd, because I don't need a big crowd, but like when you can make eye contact with people and not lose the room, because there's just, that's the amount of people that are there, because I always got to remember that if I'm talking to somebody and I haven't said the funny part of the joke yet, they might just be looking like this. Even though they're having a good time, it's just like a straight listening face, Not everybody is super conscious of like how they look when they're not laughing and they're just listening. And sometimes when it's a smaller crowd, you can be more sensitive to it, I guess, as a comic, because you're like, well, the odds are lower. If you do an arena show for 10,000 people, you can do half okay and make 5,000 people laugh. But if you're doing a show for 60, which is good on a Sunday in Salt Lake City, happy to do it. And you make half the people laugh, like you're gonna feel it, So I try to check in, and I gotta remember to check in after the joke, like right after when people are laughing, because that's gonna make me feel good. If I telling the setup part, that's a setup is that's an industry term for the beginning. The part where we're about to get you, the part where the information's coming out. Sometimes I look at somebody who's not like the excited person. Like there are some people in the audience you can look at during the setup and they're just like, yeah. And it's like, oh my, what, you should be at every show. Like their eyes, you can see it in their eyes. They're there for you. Some people are there for you and some people are there for themselves. And you could be there for whatever reason you want, as long as you bought the ticket and I'm getting a cut. You don't have to be there for me, but some people are there and they're like, I'm here to listen and be there for you. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then some people are just like very straight and then they laugh, which is good. That's how you experience it. But some of the people were like that, but then I met them afterwards and they're all very nice. Anyway, Halloween is so long. Not the day. I'm very happy with the day. I'm happy with all of it. Anytime you want to do a holiday longer, I'm for it. Everyone's like, Christmas is too long. No. Christmas is, I don't think it needs to start right after Halloween, but if you're decorating for one, might as well put them back up for the other. Who knows? But I was on the plane today from Salt Lake City to where I live in California, and there was a flight attendant. Southwest is very holiday themed. Like, I went to, when I was flying out, I know there's a lot of like travel talk, and this isn't a travel podcast. I just travel every week for work. So if you don't, it'll be good. But I travel, and I flew out on Delta, which is a very nice airlines. But like the Delta desk where you check bags, I check bags now, which is when in my earlier years, you would never catch me checking a bag because I saw the movie Up in the Air starring George Clooney. How old was George Clooney in that movie? I was going to Google it, but I was like, might as well just ask it on the podcast and see if I think of it then. Anna Kendrick was pretty young. George Clooney's in that movie. I was young. Not that I'm not young now. Am I young? After the show yesterday, one of the young kids said has anyone ever told you that you look like somebody? And I was like, well, yeah, people are like, what about Steve Carell? Which, that's an honor. He's very funny, but he's also, 30 years older than me. Maybe 30, maybe not 30. Let's see. No, he's definitely not 30 years. Maybe 20. 15? 20. Anyways, who knows? I'm probably what Steve Carell's age was when The Office began. So maybe that's why. He said that. Because that's how you see people. When people are on TV, that's the age they are. That's the only hard part. The only bad part, I think, about being on TV as an actor is like people see you every day for like a year of your life, and then that year is reran in their lives for maybe most of their life, and then you finally get a new show, or not like if you're on a show for 10 years, you're doing great, but like you're in a new show 10 years later, and all of a sudden they're like, what happened? Because they saw you 30 years ago, and then they see you now. It's like, well, what? That's why it might be good to be famous when you're older already, because then people will be like, well, they're older. That's just their character. That's just who they are. But I think the older roles go to the people that were in shows before people can see them and be like, oh, they're older. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud right now. That's not what usually happens on this podcast, right? So anyway, I'm getting on this flight. And it's Halloween time, right? It's not even this weekend, really. This is the Halloween week, I guess, before the weekend of. I think people always go out for Halloween this weekend, which this weekend I will be in Bennington, Vermont, and Portland, Maine, and Stamford, Connecticut. And this is not the weekend to be a stand-up comedian. This is the weekend to go do something else, to begin your novels, because people dress up and they go out and they drink, and that's not, I've never looked at an audience and been like, I wish this was like, let's make a deal, like I don't need people in what you want in an audience is not people seeking attention. That's not what costumes necessarily are, but like there's a lot of other things to do this weekend. So if you're in Bennington, Vermont, or Portland, Maine, or Stamford, Connecticut, just know that I'm not going to take it personally. If you're not come, don't be like, we want to go to Michael's show, but we got this. I get it. I didn't think about it. When these shows were booked, I didn't realize that Halloween was like the next Thursday, and this would be like the weekend up to Halloween. I didn't realize, because I take Halloween off because I go trick-or-treating with my son. If you don't know, I have a kid, and he is 5, and I've been asked before about Halloween, like, are you going to be home for Halloween? I will always be home for Halloween. I will be home for Halloween even when he's not trick-or-treating, just in case it gets to be like 7:30 and he's like, Dad, I think I want to go. Yeah, let's go. We're going trick-or-treating. What's my costume? I'm too old for trick-or-treat, but I'm going. Like, I think, like, we live in a neighborhood that's like really cool for Halloween. Like, you could be a kid. Like, I went trick-or-treating. What was the oldest you went trick-or-treating at? I'm trying to think. So high school, I definitely went trick-or-treating in middle school. So like 14 years old. And then, because I remember I had basketball practice, and we went after basketball practice, and my dad always went with us because, he's a dad. But we grew up in a small town, and we were in middle school, so we didn't really need it. And my friend was going trick-or-treating with us, and my dad was kind of, and I had a younger brother too, so that made sense. But my dad was kind of trailing behind, and my friend was just like, is he going to be there the whole time? And it's kind of hard to be like, that's his costume. He's stalking his kids. No. My dad never wore a costume. He would wear a cowboy hat and say that was his costume. That's not her costume, Dad. Come on. We got to learn that. I think costumes are great, but I'm not a big costume guy. Like, I like the idea of it, but I think Jerry Seinfeld said that comedians don't like costumes. I don't know if that's true. I want to be able to see with my costume. Number one, I want to be able to see. I want to be able to be active. And I want it to represent something that means something to me. And I haven't had a lot of those in my life. Like when I was a kid, I was a pirate almost every year. And even like at the ages of the years, I keep moving my notebook like people won't know that this desk is a toilet. I cleaned this bathroom recently. So this is just how it is, A lot of people have favorite comedians or podcasts to listen to where it's like a cool studio, and that's a great part to be part of that journey. You could be, but this is the journey that we're a part of right now. And even if I was like, oh, we could have the money to rent out a place, I like the idea of doing it in the house after my kid goes to sleep in the bathroom. Like, this is a choice. Yeah, it's definitely a choice. Like, I love being around my kid when he's alive, always alive, but awake too. But when he's asleep, it's really efficient, Like, I don't want to go somewhere if he's awake at this age. Anyway, how old were you when you stopped trick-or-treating? That's my question. I remember going in middle school. My friend had a mask. My friend, I had two best friends growing up, maybe three, but two, Brett and Graham. And middle school, I didn't meet them until middle school. In elementary school, I don't know. We had like neighborhood friends. And if you're a friend listening to this, you were my best friend. No, my friend Ty, but we didn't live like super down the street, so I didn't see him a lot other than at school. Same thing with Mike. But yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that today because you see, there's a lot of one thing I don't like about social media is that it's all about like getting you to watch it more, Like, I just wish people would post stuff, and I think people do for sure. Like, people just post stuff that they're like, oh, this is my life, I don't want to see it. I'm not a Raiders fan, by the way. This is just Cup. I went to Copa America. Check out me on Instagram. I made reels to get people to watch. No, this is the Cup. I like stadium cups, and that's really what this podcast is about. This is a Raiders Cup, and I would go to a Raiders game. I love professional sports. I went to a Utah Utes game. That's not professional. Well, college kids get paid, but I don't think they do. I don't know what the NIL money is like at Utah. I'm sure it's something. But yes. So, best friend, elementary school. We moved around a lot when I was a kid. I had brothers. I think if you have a big family, like I remember the biggest thing I remember about playing with people outside was like my little brother. We'd play outside a lot during the summer and inside too. And then my older brother and I, my older brother was always fine playing without anybody. Like I remember that was because I was a middle child. I think I was always used to being around kids. But I remember like we would be playing and then he would just disappear and then he would just be fine off by himself. Or like he would just like I would be in the house as a child and he's only 3.5 years older than me. And then he'd go outside and start playing basketball just by himself. I remember at a certain age, I was just like, do you want to play? And he was like, I'm done. Like he literally just went outside to shoot by himself and he could have played against me. And I'm not, he's older than me, but I would have enjoyed it. I think that's what I didn't realize is that when you're the oldest all the time, it's not as fun to play. Because we used to play sports all the time growing up. That was a big thing we used to play was sports. So we did do that for a long. Like we played football every Sunday from like probably middle school to high school in the backyard. All ages. Like my younger brother would play all the way up to my older brother and his friends. Like they would come back from college and play. And we had like the perfect size backyard where like it wasn't huge where you could really get going fast and people would get hurt, but it wasn't super small. There were 2 bushes in the middle of the field that you could do crossing routes and have people like collide, which that was always like, it only happened one time. My friend, I think Chad Lambert, was over and collided with somebody else, and that was the only time it ever happened in the whole league. It was definitely not organized at all. But we would play that a lot. That was very fun. And my parents had a Culligan water cooler because in our town, it was just like well water because we lived on the frontier. And so that was the thing. Like when we played as a kid or even in high school, you could play. Anybody could come over outside, but we weren't going inside. But you could go in the little laundry room right when you walk in and everyone can get their water. And I remember one time we would play in all weather. Like snow was really fun because you wouldn't get hurt if you fall. And you never really got hurt. That was the one rule my dad had, was like no one's allowed to get hurt, which is kind of like being like, we're not getting sued. That he would come out. We would have all these kids of all ages, some of them very big. And he would just be like, guys, there's one rule. No one's allowed to get hurt. And I always thought it was like a joke. And then one time, one guy tackled another guy in the pavement, and they started like almost fighting, and my dad like screamed at them. It was kind of out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, that's what he meant. He meant don't fight. And we all didn't get to play anymore that day. Everyone just kind of went home, which is kind of a bummer that happened. That was Josh and Gary, the people in your life, you know. So yeah, that was when we played the most with people. Was football. But anyway, my friend Brett, we were trick-or-treating. That was middle school. And then I don't remember. I'm sure I went in 8th grade too. And then 9th grade, I think it was 9th grade. Maybe it was 8th grade. That might have been the last time I went trick-or-treating, was 8th grade. Because I remember my older brother was in high school. So that might have been it, was 8th grade. Because we did something fun, but then he had a mask and I had a mask, and we were like, let's go trick-or-treating. So we went trick-or-treating. And there was kind of this stoicism to it, like this silent, like, it's not like he was embarrassed by it at all, but we were both kind of like a little too old to be out there for what I think now it's not too old, but at that time, but I wasn't like, are you sure, your age is okay? I was just like, yeah, let's do this. And it's really fun. I think that's the best part about family, is you can do stuff that's like, he probably thought of it like, oh, I can go with Michael and then he has someone to go with. And I thought like, I can go with my Patrick, so he has someone to go with because he's in high school. And everyone gave us candy. You could probably go trick-or-treating at any age, and people will give you candy. If you keep that mask on and you don't show the facial hair, like, people just give you... It's fun. I think there's an adventure to it. You get to go on other people's property legally. Like, I think that's the best part, is that you really get to go on other people's property legally. It feels like a real good reason to go on other people's property legally. Because as a kid, you kind of run around all over the place. And then you get a little older, and you're like, well, that's not allowed anymore. And then Halloween, they're like, yeah, come on over, knock on our door. And then in high school, I think I didn't go anymore. I don't think I ever went in high school. My older brother was gone, and my younger brother would probably go. But I don't know what I did freshman year or sophomore year. I think it was junior year. Maybe it was senior year. No, it wasn't senior year. But junior year, I remember it must have been junior year, because I did have friends. Like, junior year was when I first started to have friends other than like my main friends that I could like hang out with and go places with. Like a group. Like, I was invited into groups my junior year, and that year we went to I think that was what it was. Yeah. We were driving around in someone's car, and we bought eggs from a grocery store, and people were just vandalizing live in person that Halloween. I remember like at a stoplight, people got out and started throwing toilet paper at someone's car, like soaping a car, which the toilet paper thing didn't seem too practical. And we had egg. We bought them at the grocery store, and the guy sold it to us, but he knew what we were doing, and which I think is probably not good to buy. But I remember, yeah, we had the eggs, and that's all I'm gonna admit to. Um, but yeah, and then in college we went trick or treating for UNICEF because I went to a liberal arts Catholic Jesuit college, and to raise money for UNICEF, which I think I went my freshman year, and we dressed up for trick or treating, which is a real good trick as an adult to go trick or treat. If you want to go trick or treating and you're not a little kid, not even a little kid, but if you're like a grown up, just get that little UNICEF box. Get another friend or two, and just like, we're just collecting money for UNICEF. You'll get candy, and it'll feel cool, and you'll get to wear a costume. So that'd be my biggest trick or treating hack. If you want to go trick or treating and you don't have children and you're older, get that UNICEF box. I'm trick or treating for UNICEF. They give you money. You got to donate the money. You can't, but they give you candy usually too, and you get to wear a costume. It's like nobody knows that you want to be a kid again. I don't know what it's about being a kid that you want to be it again. I think it's because it goes by so fast. That's why I'm never gonna work on Halloween. I don't care how much money it's paying me. I will not, because my son, I will go trick or treating with him. That is Christmas. Christmas morning is pretty cool, because of Santa and Tooth Fairy. Obviously, we're not gonna talk about that ever again. But Halloween is cool because it's like you're in our neighborhood, especially. There's a lot of people out, and but it's not too many people, and the people that are giving out candy are really happy. And it's a really like heartwarming, down to earth. What is it like? What's the word for like wholesome? It's very wholesome. Like I like it. So, yeah, that's trick or treating, and you got to be healthy this year. We got to be healthy. That's what I was trying to say, because we got a little sick last week, and in my head I was like, well, that's good because we'll get it out now. October. I've been thinking like Halloween is 10 days away, so we're shutting down any health. We're not staying up late. We're not doing extra stuff. We're going to bed. We're going to bed because you got to be healthy. But Halloween is so long. That's what I was trying to say. Halloween's so long that I haven't missed out on much either, because every weekend you can do a thing with your kid where they can wear a costume. So we're kind of covered, because when Jack was 3, he got sick on Halloween, and we didn't do all the stuff that you could do. I don't think there was as much back then, but like now there's a Halloween train that you can go to on the weekends during the day, and you wear your costume if you want to. And there's like little Halloween like wooden cutout, like not cutouts, but like wooden things that look like Halloween. You search for them and you circle them on a thing. It's hard to explain. And then there's like the zoo as Halloween, and then there's this place called Kids Space that has Halloween, and they have parades and costume parades. So there's so many weekends leading up to it. There's pumpkin patches where you can wear your Halloween stuff. Like my son has already worn his costume a couple times, and I've gotten to see it. I think that's the best part as a parent, is like seeing your adorable child. All children, I'm not saying my kid's adorable, but like everybody's kid, they're like, oh, so dress up as like a character is like, that's the cutest thing in the world. But yeah, so that's what we got. That's what we got to stay healthy. Because last week we went, his mom, man, sometimes I feel like this podcast is all like beep, 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 but this time I don't think I'm even beep, 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 beep. So he likes chess, right? But he also likes anything that he doesn't have to go to bed doing. Like today, he was like, because he has homework once a week. It's on Monday and it's due on Friday. He's kindergarten. It's like, he's not going to fail or whatever. But like we do it some like early in the week sometimes. And I was like, it's time to go to bed. He's like, we got to do homework first. Like he wanted to do homework first. He's like anything to stay up, And so like he plays chess, sure. But I think also chess was on Bluey. So like all kids like chess a little bit now. And his mom likes chess. But so we went to this like chess thing at night to see what it was like to be a part of like a chess club. There's a really real like chess organization, not super close to where we live. I wasn't aware of that, but we went to do this visit last week at night, and it was like against traffic, like not in the right way with traffic. So we were in traffic, and I didn't plan on going. I thought his mom was going to take, but he was like, oh, I want you to come. So then I came, and I was going to make food, but then when I was going, I just didn't think of it. So then he got hungry. And then we were there, and I knew it was a bad idea because it's like he's 5, like he's not gonna play. We're just gonna see what it's like. So we went there, and it was just like this whole thing. And then he felt like we didn't get food right away. Then we got food, and that just puts everything back 4 hours. And if you listen to the podcast, you know I need like 4 hours to get into bed. And so then he went to bed super late, and then he got sick, and I feel like it was my fault. But I know that it was definitely my fault. Like I know that it wasn't it was my fault. So I brought him to school the next day because he wasn't sick yet. Kids have a level of sick that's acceptable publicly, where you can drop them off somewhere and people are like, oh, that's just all the germs that are in a normal kid. But when I dropped him off on the day after that, Wednesday, he had that. But then when I picked him up, he was like, all the kids were like in there, like the teacher was like, all the kids were sitting on the ground. The teacher was like reading a story or something, or doing they were learning Spanish, I think. Kids learn Spanish now. 5-year-olds learn Spanish, which is the best time to learn Spanish. It just seems like that's great. They should also teach them code, and calculus. Let's get it all in there. Get all the hard stuff in now while they're willing to do homework just to not go to sleep. That's what I say. You don't want to go to sleep right now? Let's do organic chemistry or whatever leads up to that, Let's not do the fun stuff now. Let's get them now before they're tired of the work, Let's read Crime and Punishment. I don't know. I think Jack would get. I've definitely read too old of stuff around. We do a thing where we listen to music, That's what we do. I don't know if you guys do that with your friends and family and children, but we listen to music while we drive. Isn't that interesting? And is that what the whole episode is? Just like, are you sure you're still listening to this? I talk too fast for the little amount of content I provide. My son, we take turns because I do YouTube music. It's $15. This isn't an ad. I don't get anything. But it is nice because there's any song pretty much. I guess Apple Music does that too, but he can watch the videos, which is nice. But we take turns, and he really likes Gummy Bear. And so he picks Gummy Bear Mega Mix every time because it's 20 minutes long, which is like 6 songs, and he laughs every time because I don't have a Mega Mix of Jack Johnson or whatever I want to listen to, I don't really know. There's a couple songs. I don't know if I'd want a Mega Mix of any artist, really. I don't know. That's like a whole half an album. Who knows? But I during around the 4th of July, someone posted the Hamilton song with the King George, and I think it's really funny, and I like that actor a lot. He was the voice of the guy in Frozen, not Olaf, but the other guy, the other man, and I think it's really funny. So I listened to that song, and in the song, the King George talks about he's gonna kill all your friends and family to remind you of his love. Like it's like a love song to the United States, and he's like, I'm gonna murder all of you. And I didn't ever think Jack was listening, and then he was like, why is he saying he's gonna kill everybody? And now not only do I have to explain killing, but I have to know enough about the Revolutionary War to explain it in a way that is accurate, but not giving enough detail to scare a kid, Like, oh, he's just, upset that the United States became a country. And while he's upset, well, it's money, I think. He wanted money. He was getting money. Well, why did we not want to be a part of England? We didn't want to give them money, and also they were like kind of mean about stuff. And then he's like, well, why? Well, he wants the money and also feels like, he's the king. And he's like, well, are there good kings? And I was like, yeah, there's good kings. And he's like, well, who's that guy a good king? And he's like, well, and like, who's a good king now? And I'm like, I don't think there are. But it was a whole thing. And the whole time I was like, I can't listen to any songs anymore because I know he's listening. And then, yeah, there's something else like that too. But anyway, that's, I think he can, he's young enough to where if he hears something, I can explain it away, is what I was trying to say before I go back to whatever. So Jack he was like kind of like isolated. He was still like, he was probably like 3 feet away from the other kids, But I saw it. I picked up on one of the teachers. Teachers came to me. He's like, he started coughing during his nap, and Jack told me he couldn't fall asleep because of his cough. And usually that's when he like gets more sleep, so it would have been better. And so he didn't fall asleep. I need a haircut, man. I do. This part up here looks okay, but this part on the side, it's like this is kind of too much, you know. But I don't know how to go in to get a haircut and be like, can you just do this side and then this side and then, because then I have to come back in another week and be like, all right, now I need this part, you know. I think I just need to have a neighbor that can cut my hair every week. Or just get like, I don't know. Jack won't get a haircut. He wants a buzz cut, he says. So he lets his hair go. Because he says haircuts hurt, but buzz cuts are fine because he loves Buzz Lightyear. But he's never been Buzz Lightyear for Halloween. That's how smart he is. I think he knows that it would be hard to wear Buzz Lightyear as a costume. That's my idea. I don't know if it's true. So he's kind of isolated. His teacher's like, oh, he's been coughing. So I'm like, oh, that's on me. I got to keep. So I was like, all right, Thursday, Friday, he's staying home. And I loved it so much because it was like the old days, you know. We'd wake up, we're on our own schedule, you know. We play, we eat, we play, we did some crafts. His initiate he made a pumpkin snowman monster for a Halloween decoration, and then a monster with a lot of eyes, and then I'll put them in the stories on Instagram. Maybe I should start putting them on the carousel on the profile so they live longer. But I kind of blew out my nose at the mic. I didn't mean to do. I don't really know. I come from a family of noses that have congestion, and so when I can't breathe out of it, I'm just used to just being like, you know. But I realize in public, that's probably not super appropriate to be talking to somebody and just be like fake blowing your nose without a Kleenex there. Just like, it kind of sounds like, I don't know what. It feels like that would be offensive to me. So I don't want to offend anybody else. I just want to have a clear nose area so I don't have to like, it doesn't sound that bad actually. It sounds good. But it was like our old days, you know? We just got to do our thing. I got help. I think we already had groceries, so we were all good, and we just stayed inside. And I like it because, as you know about me as a father, as a person, not a lot of boundaries. I could explore that. People bought me books about how to get better boundaries, and I feel like it's a boundary to not read those books. It's like, don't tell me what to do. I realized today how much I don't like people to tell me what to do. As I was returning my rental car, and I thought of a different time returning my rental car, and as I was pulling up, the guy in front of me was the guy that worked there, and I was following him, and he like was waving for me to go to a different lane, but part of me was like, no, the whole part of me was like, I'm not doing that. So I was just like, I don't know. There was a car coming behind me in the other lane, but it was kind of far away, but I was like, I'm not going to almost cut them off to not do what I'm already doing. And I could see that. I think the urgency in his waving to get me to go over the other lane, and the more he was trying to get me to go over the lane, the more I was like, I'm not doing that thing. I brought it all the way here. This is pretty close. I'm not going to cut off this car because you want this car in a different lane right now, you know? It's always interesting to me when people at work try to be so urgent with you as a customer. It's like, okay, this is I was about to say this is your job, but it is. I'm not trying to be like, this is not my problem, but I have enough urgency going on in here that I am unaccounting for. That's unaccountable. That's not like accounted for. That I don't need other people's stresses. But anyway, so we got food, you know, we play, we did a craft. I could start bedtime 5 hours before, you know, and still be in bed all the time. I tried to do a nap because I was like, in my head I was like, that's a good parent thing to do because he's sick, is do a nap. But it was really because I was just like, I'm tired right now. And he was so good. He was just like, all right, you know, we'll lay down. And he didn't fall asleep at all, but we laid there for a while. But then he didn't fall asleep at night right away. He was very active. And I think I was like, we're never doing a nap again. He's sick and he doesn't want to fall asleep. That was the first time in a while that I hadn't watched him fall asleep. Like where I was just like, I gotta go now. I gotta go get ready for bed because I'm gonna get tired. Like today, when I wanted him to go to sleep, he started. That was that nose thing. He started playing with his toys, and I was like, "That's like such a good kid thing to do." I was like, "I'm gonna go set up my podcast stuff for after you go to sleep, because he can take a nap at school." Anyway, so then Friday, he woke up, still fever, whatever. That's what they say. They have a fever. You gotta stay home. So we stayed home again, and again, so fun. And I flew out Friday night, so I didn't have to deal with it the rest of the time. But it was very, I really like unended time together with my young child. And I'm looking forward to the next time. And I think a lot of people get it on the weekends, but that's when I go to work. And that's when I went to work. And then I flew out, and I flew out being like, okay, I've been around a sick kid. I haven't had any symptoms really. But like kids get in your face, you know? They're like he's eating not the same food. I didn't eat any food that he had touched or whatever. Like there was a point where he reached in and grabbed my cereal. I'm like, oh, that's yours now. That's how that works. And then I didn't do any of that, but I was definitely given a lot of his air. And on the plane, sometimes you feel sick on a plane just because it's like, we're not supposed to be in the air, our bodies aren't acclimated. Like they have to pump in levels of oxygen to make sure our brains don't explode. That might not be the science, but whenever I feel like kind of weird on a plane, I'm like, oh, that's just being on a plane. But then I got off the plane and I didn't feel, and then I got to the hotel and I was like, oh, this isn't good. And then I was like, oh, I think I have a fever, and I did, and I had chills. So I went to go in the hot tub because I thought that would be good. Because I don't know, as a kid, we'd always be like, take a hot bath. But then I looked it up. Hot tub is bad for fever. Even though you're cold because of the fever, man, I don't want chills in a fever. But Tylenol is amazing. And they're not paying me, obviously, no one. But like I forgot about Tylenol. Like I was laying in bed, super chilly, and I had the heat up in the hotel room, feeling miserable. I didn't have to wake up for like 14 hours. So I was like, I'm just going to lay here and I'll be better tomorrow. And then I kind of woke up after my first sleep and I was like, I can take Tylenol. I took Tylenol. And the feeling of like being chilled and then all of a sudden being better, it's like, what? Like I felt like a superhero. Like I was like, this is amazing. And I just kept sleeping and felt so good that I went to my show. And I did the show, and after the show, I was at University of Utah, and and there was a football game going on, which I wasn't headlining that. I was opening for my friend. I say friend, but like I knew her as a comedian first, but her name's Kathleen Madigan. She's very funny, and it was a theater show, which you don't really want like a big college football game going on at the same time as your show, but it's kind of cool for me to open her because I got to go to the game. I walked over to the game, and I got like a ticket that was like 50-yard line, and it was really inexpensive, not World Series prices at all. And I sat there for about a quarter having the time of my life. And the fourth quarter, I was like, oh, I think I'm sick still. Like, I think the Tylenol that I took before the show too wore off. And I was just like, but I couldn't leave because I don't leave games early, and it was still close. And I was like, what am I going to do, go home? And then I did go home, and then I gave myself another fever. Like it was like the fever was gone, but then I was like, I'm not going home. And then the fever was like, well, we're gonna be here now. And but then I got better on Sunday, and I think it's all better now. And Jack's all better. But the good thing, what I started to say earlier about I'm not a lot of boundaries in the books people buy me, is like when Jack was still not feeling well on Friday and he wanted to go do something somewhere, I was like, well, we're not feeling well. And then today, when I picked him up and he wanted to go do a bunch of stuff, which is fine to do stuff sometimes, but like it kind of, puts off the schedule. If you're not scheduled into going to the playground right after the thing, that's like, well, Dad's not feeling well right now. So if you ever have a sick kid, that's the positive of it, is what I was trying to say. But yeah, Halloween, a lot of options. Jack has a Luigi costume, which I didn't authorize. I'm happy that he has it, but I would have just been like one costume per Halloween, right? But he has a Sonic the Hedgehog costume and a Luigi costume. and because he's done multiple Halloween things so far because adults like seeing kids in their costumes so much. So I think he's going to be Sonic for Halloween, but I think we'll be able to update you on that next week because it's not even Halloween yet. That's the cool part about Halloween this year. It feels like October started so long ago, but we still have Halloween's not even this week. It's next week. I don't know how Halloween can be next week, and that's October 21st? Well, it's 10 days away. That's why. Is it 10? So today's Monday, and then next week will be the 28th, and then the 29th is Tuesday. The 30th is, the 31st is Thursday. This was good content, going through the calendar like that. All right. Here's some things I wrote down that I haven't talked about that I'm going to talk about. I don't like veggies as a word. I like how I put the prepared stuff at the end, as if people still might be listening, needing to hear something that's prepared. Like, if they've made it this far, you guys are great. I don't like veggies as a word. I don't think we should give nicknames to enemies. So what else? Jack, I watched him cry about his gummy bears. So we got ice cream one time, and it's weird how smart kids are, I feel like. If you don't have kids, you can replace dogs with this probably. Or if you could just be like, oh, that's what it's like, or like you're babysitting. We were getting ice cream one time, and that's already a big win for him. We don't do ice cream every day. Well, in the house lately, but once we're out of that ice cream, I'm not doing it again because it has chocolate chips in it, and it gets him like, he's firing, when it is a big win to go out for ice cream. Like, it's cute and fun when they're kids. It's like, oh, this is like it's like the trick or treating thing. Like, oh, we get to have ice. But then it's like, it takes little kids. Like, he's 5 now, but when he was little, it takes them so long to eat ice cream because they are so small, and the ice cream, even the kids' ice cream, is too big. And try take away from him. Like, even if you're taking the part that's melting, he's eating your, So he got to this point where he's like, I want gummy bears on my ice cream, and I'm just like, I got it. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. And it was usually during the day. So I was like, I feel like if the sun's at a higher point, then the sugar will burn off by the time it's time to go to sleep. I'm just making excuses for my parenting. But he had gummy bears in his ice cream one time, and it was really hot outside, and it was nighttime, and the ice cream was melting, and it wasn't in a cup. It's usually in a cup, but it was in a cone, and I knew that was going to be a problem. I might have already talked. I don't think I talked about this. I knew it was going to be a problem because it usually gets in a cup, but he got it in a cone, and I was like, that's not going to work. But like, I've learned with children, just let them see it not work, because that works 50% of the time. Like, if you just tell them it's not going to work, then they'll get over it, and it'll be fine. But if you let them see it not work, that could be a win, They're going to freak out and hate the situation also, or they're going to be like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. And this is one of the times where he just like freaked out and was so upset that his gummy bears were like falling on the ground, because I think he wanted the gummy bears more, but he knows I wouldn't give him candy at night, but he knows we've had ice cream at night, so he's like, this is how I'm going to get candy in my face, is by putting it on a less sugary dessert that my dad is more open to at night, which is a good trick. I don't think that he thinks, and maybe he doesn't, but like, what else is he thinking about while he's not falling asleep at night, So the gummy bears are falling. It's like they're all dying, because once they're on the ground, I'm not letting him eat them. He's eaten food on the ground before. I'm not saying I'm perfect. If you know anything about me, I'm not saying I'm perfect. On the floor at home is different than on the floor outside. I'm putting them away. They're like, these gummy bears are dying. It's like in, what was that movie, Saving Private Ryan, I think, in the beginning, where all just like, they're just like one after another, just like dead gummy bear. I probably shouldn't compare those two situations, but we were losing a lot of good gummy bears that day, and he was just in tears, and I was just taking the gummy, because I knew that's my other boundary. You're not eating food off the dirt floor. Also, I don't want you to eat this. And he was so upset. He was so angry, and I just let him be upset because I had ice cream. That was the other benefit. It's like, I got ice cream. I love chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream because it doesn't fall on the ground. The cookie dough's in there already, and you eat it, and it's fantastic. So I was like, I'm going to enjoy my ice cream because he's going to be mad regardless of whether I let my ice cream melt or not. So I enjoyed my ice cream. I took the gummy bears off the ground so he wouldn't eat them, and I put them in a place that he couldn't get to. And then I looked at him, and I was like, hey, buddy, hey, you got ice cream right here. and the gummy bears. That's 2 desserts. You tricked me. I called him out on his game. I was like, buddy, you tricked me into getting this extra thing. You shouldn't even have this, but you got it because you asked for it, and then you just started laughing because I was right. He had tried to trick me into getting it too, but it had melted. So that's how you solve that. Not that you need to stop your kid from crying, but if you can, it's probably not applicable to too many situations. Sometimes people buy you presents, and I think they're messing with me. Like one time, I have a toaster that's very good. It's silver. It looks like the Brave Little Toaster. Have you seen that movie? One of my friends did Punch Up on the sequel. But I have one toaster. I bought it because it's a silver toaster because it looks like Brave Little Toaster, and it doesn't look like Brave Little Toaster. It's just like a standard. Like it's like if you were to write or if you were to think about the movie Brave Little Toaster and then see that, it's not like licensed. It's just like a toaster, and that's the classic toaster from Brave Little Toaster. If you don't know what Brave Little Toaster is, it's probably on Disney Plus. It was a TV movie from a long time ago, and it was TV movies as kids. We didn't have any movies. We had like An American Tail on VHS. That was it. My aunt bought it for us. She was a pharmacist, and she bought it for us. That was the only movie we ever had. So we'd watch that, and then like the movies on Disney Channel. And Brave Little Toaster was on TV a lot. And so I was like, that's my toaster. And then someone bought me another toaster. I'm a grown-up. You think I don't have a toaster? And it was a toaster that burns Snoopy's face into toast. And Jack saw it, and he was super excited because he likes Snoopy. But it burns his face into the toast. Every time you make toast with this Snoopy toaster, it's burning part of the toast. Michael, what's the big deal? Don't you love... I do. I love Snoopy too, but I don't love my fire alarm going off all the time because I have enough questionable activity coming out of this apartment as a dad whose child's up too late and we're way too loud and we're playing tag and hide and seek to try to wear him down to go to sleep, which also I think it gets his energy up. But now the fire alarm's going off too? Okay, so now I'm not putting away Brave Little Toaster. That's my favorite toaster. I'm not putting away that one. I'm only doing Snoopy Toast by request, okay? If somebody asks for toast in my house, I'm putting in the Brave Little Toaster. If you want Snoopy Toast, you got to ask specifically for Snoopy Toast. Also the bad thing about Snoopy Toast, it's not a bad thing, but Jack figured out if you put whipped cream on it, it looks like a Snoopy face because the nose is burnt on and the eye, and then you put the whipped cream. So now he's got whipped cream for breakfast? Okay, I mean, we've done candy before, but... yeah, it's just like, who doesn't have a toaster? You know, I got a toaster. I love Snoopy, but I don't love burning toast enough. I don't love awaking my neighbors to the fact that I might be bad at cooking too. You know, that's the thing. I don't want to let everybody know I'm also bad at cooking. Like, they know that my child is running rampant and free and that I am not taking care of all that. But they don't need to know I'm also bad at cooking. So, that's that. Usually I stop now, but I like this one too. I also, I got a flight delay. I get flight delays a lot. Every Sunday, my flight gets delayed. I think all the flights on Sunday, all the pilots are just like, yeah, it's fine. Real people don't go to work today. I think that's what they say. All the flights get delayed. Every Sunday I get delayed. I mean, almost every day I get delayed. And I don't mind a flight delay because I'm not perfect, you know? Sometimes I do a show on a joke. Sometimes I do a podcast that doesn't get laughs. No, but sometimes I do a live show, which is my job, which people pay money to see. And sometimes my timing is off, and people have to wait a couple of minutes for a good laugh. But they've never had to like wait 3 hours and then like get a hotel voucher and food voucher and then miss their kid's recital because of my. So it's like I'm never that bad. That's the point then. Oh, I went to a Subway sandwich place in Alaska, which is weird because there's no Subways in Alaska. So, like, the whole theme of it being a Subway, like a train place, kind of didn't make sense. Like, there's not Subways. There's not enough people. So that's that. All right. Happy week before Halloween week. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for coming to the shows. This week, Stamford, Connecticut, Bennington, Vermont, and Portland, Maine. My Portland, Maine debut. And then the next week, I'm off. And then I'll be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Little Rock, Arkansas, the one in Arkansas, and Rosemont, Illinois, which is right near Chicago. It's right by O'Hare Airport. We're going to December then, and then Grand Rapids, Michigan, Chicago, Mahomet, Illinois for New Year's, San Francisco, Sacramento in the New Year. I don't know who's playing that far out. All right, thanks everybody. We made it. We made it. This is. I hope you have a great day or night or experience in this life. Bye. Bye. I love you.